and China is filling the gap. China is clearly rising through the ranks. It is already number 2. It is filling that gap. Hey, it's Marek. It's good to be back. I'm back in my man cave, a place where I record most of those podcasts. You might remember I was in China a couple of weeks ago. After China, I flew to Davos in Switzerland and attended World Economic Forum. I didn't have time to record the podcast back there. So now that I'm back, I returned a week ago. Now that I'm back, I'm recording a summary of 12 buzzwords, 12 vibes that I've spotted during World Economic Forum in Davos. I think it's a wonderful place just to find out what people are going to be talking about over the next 12 months, simply because a lot of people who shape public discourse attend the World Economic Forum in Davos. In 2025, it was very easy for me to understand what was going to happen. Everyone was talking about artificial intelligence and AI agents. This year wasn't so easy. It was really hard to spot a singular vibe. So I'm not committing to any single vibe that I've heard at Davos World Economic Forum this year, 2026. But I am going to go through 12 vibes that I've heard. That's over 4 days of Davos. Every day I captured 3 vibes. I did record some videos about those vibes that you can find. But let's go quickly through each of them, like a minute a vibe, if you will. The first thing that struck me on day 1 in Davos, I went to a session and there was this humble startup founder or a co-CEO who said, "We're just a single-digit billion-dollar startup." And I thought, wow, it used to be called a unicorn, and it used to be a goal for so many entrepreneurs to become a unicorn. Now, apparently, single-digit is not cool anymore. A double-digit, a decacorn, if you will, is probably the term that we're going to be hearing much more. That's Davos for you. Look, everything that I'm sharing here, don't judge me. I'm just observing. I'm not, saying whether I'm on this side or that side of the conversation, but some interesting vibes that I heard. The second vibe that I heard, agentic state. I heard ministers of various governments talk about using AI agents to help in the operations of the government. This is a bit touchy in some countries. In Australia, you might have heard about Robodebt, but clearly countries like Estonia and even Ukraine are now starting to talk about implementing those agents in a government. Agentic state, the new vibe, the new buzzword. The third theme or term I heard on day 1 was gross versus net AI productivity. So everyone talks about how much AI saves in terms of time, but we also have those conversations about work slop and the fact that AI contributes to rework. And so we need to start to talk about this net AI productivity, where we take into account both the value of AI, how much time it saves, but also how much work it generates. And hopefully the bottom line is positive. That was day 1. On day 2, there was a lot of talk about the rising power of China. The Global Soft Power Index was launched on day 2 in Davos, and turns out that US is dropping down in all sorts of rankings when it comes to the soft power of the country. And China is filling the gap. China is clearly rising through the ranks. It is already number 2. It is filling that gap that US is increasing. More and more people talk about China as a country that we should be paying a lot of attention to for all sorts of reasons. The second theme, AI as an energy question. So not just computing, GPUs, bigger data centers, but how much energy do we need to use for those data centers? How much water is being used? That's not a surprising conversation for everyone who has been following the topic closely, but hearing this in Davos at World Economic Forum means that it is pretty much becoming mainstream, which is very, very important. The third theme on day 2 that I heard was zero-cost software. You've heard me talk about it a lot. Claude Code, tools like Cursor, they keep improving. We keep hearing about those entrepreneurs, software developers that can now build software without hiring a team of programmers. And it was quite telling when Andrew Ng suggested a radical reduction in the number of software developers. And to quote him, he said, the ratio used to be 1 product manager to 6 or 7 engineers. Yesterday, one of my teams proposed to me one product manager to zero point 0.5 engineers. All right, think about that change in the ratio. That's pretty interesting. And frankly, I'm wondering, all those universities that are churning out software developers at the moment, are we producing people who are going to find it hard to find a job? That's quite surprising that we're now talking about software developers finding it hard to find a job. But with the increase of the capabilities of those tools that can create software by themselves, it is a question that we should start considering. Day 3, thirsty LLMs, thirsty large language models. It was surprising to me when I heard so many AI researchers saying, look, we've scraped everything on the internet, every single document, everything that we could find. Now we're after what's not on the internet. The experiential knowledge, the embodied expertise, the implicit knowledge that's not in the documents. And the question is how to capture that. We're not sure just yet, but an interesting lesson is if your skills can be captured in a manual, in a document, and put on the web, you have a problem. LLMs are after your job. But if your skills are not that easy to capture in a document, are not that easy to capture by an LLM for its training, hey, for now you might be safe. Another topic on day 3: ban on AI legal personhood. I was listening to Yuval Noah Harari, who very passionately talked about the fact that AI agents should not have legal personhood, so the ability to be effectively be a legal agent, perform actions without human or some other form of oversight. And it was really interesting when he said that. He said we need a global ban on AI legal personhood. So many people, hundreds of AI experts who were in that room. There was a huge space where Yuval Noah Harari was speaking in. They all clapped. They all said, yep, that's what we want, a ban on AI legal personhood. So pretty interesting, interesting theme emerging there. The third theme that I heard on day 3, economy models. We heard about large language models. We heard about large action models. We heard about large world models. So action models are for bots to perform specific actions on the internet and so on. So agents, world models, something for robots, physical, embodied AI to perform in the real world. Economy models are models that help computer systems, AI systems understand how economy behaves and therefore perform action. So that seems to be a theme that a lot of people now want to look into. Day 4, BYOP, bring your own power. Understood as when you build an AI data center, one, as a creator of the data center, you might need to bring your own power with it, meaning, hey, maybe you need a small power plant next to your data center or some other form of it. But also a flip side of that, if you're a customer of a data center, you might be required to bring your own power contract together with a request to use the data center, because some data centers might not be able to secure power contracts. Bring your own power. Now we go a bit wild into space. Edge AI, edge artificial intelligence, or artificial intelligence that is happening at the spot where some information is being captured, combined with space computing. So think about satellites that capture images of the Earth, and then instead of sending those photographs or images down to Earth for processing, they would do some processing up there in space. Now, a swarm of satellites could also be a swarm of processing units. So they would be sending information among themselves and then processing that as a swarm of computing devices. Laser in space or light in space travels a bit faster, apparently 40%. Not an expert here, so don't quote me on that. It travels faster than in a fiber, simply because in a fiber the light bounces against the walls. Again, don't quote me on that. That's my understanding of how it works. When you have a laser and you shoot light straight into another satellite, that's faster as well. So that's apparently better. Autonomous agentic economies. That was the theme number 3 on day 4. economies that are filled with agents, AI agents that perform all sorts of actions. Hey, this reminds me about a book that I wrote, The Economy of Algorithms, where I wrote about all those digital minions interacting in an economy. So this was theme number 3 of day 4. So effectively theme number 12 of everything that I mentioned to you. And that one feels very familiar. So this is a Davos in a pill for you. This is what I heard this year in 2026. Bonus, there was another Davos there as well. Outside of the conversations about politics and business, there were some really, really good conversations about society, about arts, about the nature. More details on that in my newsletter if you want to read it. I don't want to take too much of your time in this podcast. The whole point is for me to give you a very brief information on all that. I hope you enjoy the analysis of what happened in Davos in 2026. Stay curious.